Hello everyone and welcome to Coding Cart. So in this tutorial we are going to learn about this named tuple from collections in Python. So here they have mentioned few points related to this named tuple. So you can see here they are saying that these named tuples are easy to create. They are lightweight object types. They are also saying that they turns tuple into convenient container for simple tasks. And also with these named tuples you don't have to use integer indices for accessing member of a tuple. So I will be discussing each and everything, and in this problem what they are saying is they will give the number of students, the very first line, and these are the IDs, marks, name and class, and they will give the values of ID, marks, name and class over here. And what we have to do here is we have to get this marks value and find the average, and that average should be listed corrected up to 2 decimal places. So for example, there are 5 students whose ID, marks, name and class are given. So their average will be, they have calculated the average for this marks value, and this is 78, but we have to print up to 2 decimal place. So the answer is 78.00. Again in test case 2 you can see here they have given the 5 student details over here. Again they are calculating the average marks, and which is 81, so they are printing 81.00. Now if you see here in these two test cases, you can see here ID, marks, name and class. Just see the sequence: ID, marks, name and class. But in second test case, the sequence of ID and marks are changed. You can see class is also changed, only name is at the same position. You can see here marks is coming first, then class, name and ID have gone to the last. Means this is not fixed, means they can give means in any sequence. So we have to write our code accordingly. So I will explain you line by line. So let me first explain you here each and everything. So let us first copy this code as a sample. Let me copy this one. Now you can see I have copied the same code, the second scenario from here, this one. Now let me explain you each and everything line by line. So let me zoom this one little bit. Now you can see we have to use this named tuple and it's under collection. So from this collection we have imported this named tuple. Now this named tuple takes 2 parameters, this one and this one. But let me explain you here the syntax for this named tuple. Like named tuple, and it takes 2 parameters. It takes 2 parameters. The very first one is the type name. Type name means what name we want to give to our named tuple, and the second one is the field names. So you can see here in the named tuple they have given the type name as car, and the field names are price, mileage, color and class. It means, let me explain you here the structure how it looks. It will look like we have a structure car in which it will hold this value like price, mileage, color and class. Like price, mileage, color, and the last one is class. It will look like a simple structure type in which this car is the name and these are the field values. Correct? So this is the structure for this named tuple. Now you can see here they have given the name for this named tuple. The name is car. Now in the next line they are passing the value like this is my car, and the field values were price, mileage, color and class. So you can see here it is looking like this one. In this car structure they are passing the value for this price, mileage, color and class. So you can see here they are assigning the value like that for the price, mileage, color and class. Now they are printing the XYZ value. Now let us see what it is printing. Let me comment this and execute this one. Now when I am printing this xyz, then it is printing the named tuple, type name, and the fields with their assigned values, the value which we have assigned over here. So hope this is clear. Now how to get the values like this price value, mileage, color or class. So for example, we have this type named car in which the field names are price, mileage, color and class. Now I want to get this class value. So how to get this one? So we have saved this tuple name into variable xyz. So if I simply write xyz dot class, then it will go in xyz tuple, named tuple, and it will go for the variable class, and it will extract the value, like it will print simply y over here. Now if I execute this one, you can see, so this print is for the second one. So here we are getting y. Now suppose if I print here, print xyz dot, suppose color, so it will print simply this color. You can see here, let me execute this one. So you can see it is printing this one. So similarly, if you want to get any other field names values, then we have to go first to the named tuple variable, and we have to simply use a dot operator and the field name. It is similar like a structure type. Suppose the price is 90, mileage is 1000, color is suppose red, and class is suppose A. And for this structure, if I have given a name suppose xyz, then how to get the price? Then I have to simply go for the variable xyz dot then price, correct? Then it will simply give me 90. It's like I have xyz variable over here, xyz is having value this one, price, mileage, color and class. So how to get the price? Then I have to first go to the xyz dot then price. If I want to get the color, then xyz dot color, similar to a structure. So I hope this is clear. Now let us go to our problem. Here our requirement is, the very first requirement is we have to read this n from the user. So let me write the code line by line. So for that we have to let us first try to solve without the named tuple. So let me explain you here how to solve this without this named tuple. So our very first task is to take one input from the user for the total number of students. So n equal to int of input. Okay, we are done with this one. Now next thing is we have to take these field names. So let us take a variable suppose name for storing the field names, and this will be a string type, so input, and we will simply use dot split because here we have lots of fields like id, marks, name and class. So this total will be a string, and we have used this split so that we will get id, marks, name and class. Now the next thing is we have to use a loop and get these values, correct? Now let us take one list, suppose lis equal to list type, to store all these values for different students. Okay, now we have taken the list. Now our next thing is, let us use for loop to get the n students values. So for I in range of n. Now our next thing is we are executing our loop n times, and we have to read input from the user. So let us take input from the user. So input, and user will pass this input in a string type, this whole in a single line, and it will be a string type. So we will simply use split input dot split. So when it get splitted, we will simply add those value in our list, in this list. So lis dot append this value. So this is clear. So one by one this loop will execute and user will give the details for the name, marks, class, and ID, and we are splitting and appending in our list. So we are done. Let us print and check whether it is printing or not, means how the input are stored. Let me execute this one. For example, if I am executing this one, so for the very first line let me give only two sample input. So I have executed this one. Let us copy this one so that we can do our testing here. Suppose I am copying and pasting over here so that we can copy from here only. Now we are done with this n value. Next thing is we have to give this as a string type. It is asking here this second line, this line number 8 is executing and it is asking the value. We executed. Now it's in a loop and we are waiting for here. So let us give two values, this one and one more, cause we are executing two times, and this one. Now you can see how the inputs are stored in a list. This the very first bracket is for the list LIS, and here the values are stored like the second. You can see here this value, one list for the student 1, this list is for the student 2. So this loop is working fine and we are able to store the input correctly. Now let us move forward. And also if we print here the name, let us print the name, print the name, because here we have stored ID, marks, name and class. So if I print here name, then it will print a list, and from that list we will simply get the index of the marks. So for example, let me explain you here. Let me execute this one more time. For example, let us check for only one input, so 1, and let us give this as a string, so this one, and one input, suppose this one. Okay, we are done. Now you can see this is our very first print statement for the list, and the second one is the name, this one. Here ID, marks, name and class. Now from this list, if I can get the index of these marks, then this will be useful for us when we will use this list to get the marks for each student. So for that, let us write the code. Let us give one variable, suppose k equal to name. We have the name variable, this list, this is my list, name list, correct? Name dot, I want to get the index for index, give me the index for the variable marks. Let us copy this one and paste here. So we are okay. So for this one, for this input it will simply give us 1, because here ID is 0, marks is at 1, name is at index 2 and class is at index 3. So here in K we have saved the index for the marks. Now we are done. Now let us print and see. Let us move line by line. Let us print K and check whether it is working or not. So suppose I am executing this one more time for only one input, suppose 1. These are my values for the second input, and we are saving this in a variable name. Now let us copy this one and give this as an input for the one student detail. Now you can see we have printed here K value. K is the index for the marks, so you can see it is working fine. So now till here we are okay. Let us proceed further for calculating the, now our next target is to calculate average, correct? So for that we'll simply use a for loop for i in range n, and what we have to do here is we have to go in list lis. This is our list, correct? In this list we have to go one by one, list of I. So list of I will pick this one, because if you see here, this is a nested list type. The values are stored like this one, list of list comma list of list comma this type. So we are using lis. If I simply write lis of suppose 0, so it will pick this list. So we are getting this list. Suppose this is my very first list, this is second, this is third one. id marks name, id marks name and class So we know that the index for the marks we have stored in k variable, so we will use that k variable to get the index. So we got the list I, means the very first list we got. Now after that we have to get the index for marks, so we have saved that in variable k. If I write here k, then k is currently having value how much? 1, and also our marks is present at index 1. This is 0 1 2 3. So this will give us the marks value. So you can see here we have written here list of I to get the very first list of first student, like this one, here we have only one student, so only one list will be given out. And after that we have used give me the value at index k, which is currently having value 1. So at index 1 the value is 97, and this value is in string type, so we have to convert this into integer type, correct? Let us convert into integer type, and now we have to add this for all the student to get the average. So for that let us take sum equal to 0, and here we will write s plus equal to this one. So it will simply sum up all the marks, and after that at the end if I simply print s divided by the total students, so we will get the result, correct? So let me execute this for the 5 student. Let me copy this one, and I will explain you line by line each and everything one more time. Suppose for the 5 student, let us print this one. Now we have to give the input for the very first student. This is for the second student, for the third student, for the fourth student, for the fifth student. Now we are okay. Let me hit the enter. Now you can see this is my list, correct? And this is list under list. Suppose this is the list for the detail for the student 1, detail for student 2, 3, 4 similarly, and this is the 5. So here we have printed the name, which is having this value, id marks name and class, and print k is having the index for the marks, field name marks. So you can see here marks is at index 1, so we are getting 1. Now here we have written the logic for summing of all the student marks, and here we have printed the average value, simply dividing the total marks by total student, sum of total marks of all the student by total of student, which is 5. So you can see how these things are working. List of I means it will go for the very first list. If I is 0, then it will go for the first list, and in this list give me the value which is at index k, and the k value is 1, so it will pick this value, and this is in string format, so it will convert into integer, and it is summing to our sum variable. Again next time loop will execute and it will select this second student detail, and from this second student give me the value present at index k, correct? So it will take 50. Similarly it will go for other student, and at the end we are simply printing s divided by n, so it is giving the average. So this code is working. Let us copy and paste there and check. Let us copy and execute here. Let me comment out this all. This was for our testing purpose. Let me run this code. So you can see here it is passing the test cases. Let me submit this code. So congratulations, we are done with the hidden test case also. So this code was without using the named tuple from the collection. Now let us write the code with the help of named tuple. So for that, let us first import this from the collection. Let us copy and paste over here. Now few things will be similar, like we have to take the n value for the total number of students, and also we have to use here named tuple. Now let me zoom this one. Now here we have to use the named tuple. Now we cannot use this input dot split to get the field names in a variable name. Here we will be using the named tuple. So let us take the named tuple, and it accepts two values, correct? So let us give the name as student, and the field names we will simply use, for the field names we will simply use input, correct? Input will be id, marks, name and class. Similar to this one structure, like we have given the name car and the field values are price, mileage, color and class. Now here we are giving the name as student and the field values are given from the user. So I have given the name student and the field values will be taken from the user. And let us give this named tuple name as suppose student only. Now we are done. Till this line we are okay. Now next thing is let us take one list in which we will store the detail for all the student, like this one. We have taken here list to store all the details here. So let us execute a loop to get the detail for all the student for I in range n, and here we have to take the input from the user. So suppose x equal to input dot split, correct? So we are done here. Now what we have to do here is we have to assign this value, this input value to the field name like id, marks, name and class. So how to assign those value? So for that let me explain you here one thing. Suppose here we have given a name student, correct? And here the values are id, marks, name and class. This is my field name, and after that we have taken this sample input from the user, the value like suppose 1, 90, suppose name xyz and class suppose a, like this. Now we have to assign this value to the id, this value to the marks, this value to the name and this one to the class. So how to assign this value? So for that we will simply write, let me explain you here. We will simply give a student, our named tuple name is student, so student, and we will simply pass the x value. Now you can see here when we split the value input dot split, this x will be a list type. So we cannot simply pass this list because the values are assigned in a separate format, one by one by one by one. So let us use here one unpack operator so that we will get only values. Like here we will get the values like 1, 90, x, y, z and a, but we want only values like 1, 90, x, y, z and a. So we have used here one unpack operator so that we will get the values like separate value like 1, 90, x, y, z and a, so that we can simply assign this value to the id, marks, name and class, like this one. Like here, if you see here, they are given the name and they are passing the value into the field names like this. Similarly, we have to write a logic like that. Here we got the input in x, which is a list type, so we have to use unpack operators so that we can get the value one by one, and we are passing that in a student, so it will automatically assign those values to the respective fields. So we are done. Now we have to store this in a variable, suppose s1, so that we can append this value into our list. So lst dot append s1. So this s1 is holding the detail for first student input. Suppose this is the student 1 detail, so s1 will look like this one. So s1 will look like, we have s1 and this will look like id with the value suppose 1, marks equal to 90, suppose name equal to xyz and class equal to a. So this is s1 and this is our list. We are assigning this s1 to our list. Now we will get the detail for the another student. Again it will be assigned in s1, all the details. So again we will append here s1, which will hold the detail for another student. Again here we are appending this variable here. s1 means it is simply appending this value, student 1 detail, over here. Again suppose for another student the id is suppose 11, marks is suppose 98, name is suppose abc, class is suppose b. So it will append this value in the second time operation of append. So similarly it will append all the 5 student detail. Now we are done with the details for all the student. Now let us print and see. Let us print the student. Let us print the student, which will print the class name. Suppose here student, if you are simply printing student, then it will print the class name. If I print here print s1, then this s1 will print, suppose here we have given the 5 student details, so at the end s1 will be holding the detail for the last student. So this will give detail of last student, correct? Last student. This will give the class name, student class name. We have to give the comment like this here. And also let us print the list to check whether the values are populated correctly or not. Now if we are okay till here, then we can easily get the marks, correct? So let me execute this one for 3 students. Suppose 3 student. Here we have to give the field names. Let us give the field names. Now let us give the detail for 3 student. This is for the very first student. Let us take the detail for the second student and one more, because we have taken n value 3. Now let me execute and show you, so you can see the very first print statement we have printed student, so it is printing the student class name. Okay, after that we have printed s1, so it will give the detail for the very last student, correct? So the very last student was this one, id was 3, marks was 91, name and class. So you can see detail for the last student, it is giving correctly. So you can see here marks 91, here marks 91. And print lst means we are printing the total list. So here we have added 3 student detail. So this is the detail for the very first student, second student, and this one is the third student. So we are able to add in a list correctly. Okay, now our next target is to get the next target is calculate the average, correct? Calculate average. So for that let us use for loop for I in range of 3, not 3n, and after that we have to take the marks. Now this is my list which is holding the named tuple. So from the named tuple we can directly access the field name, correct? So for that we will simply use list. Let us go into the list list of I means for the very first I value 0, it will give this one, it will give this one, correct? This named tuple. Now from this one we can easily get these marks by simply using lst of I dot marks. We have to give the same name. It is similar to like this one, means we got the name of the named tuple. Now we have to access the marks, so we have to simply use xyz dot marks, correct? So we got the xyz as a list. Here we are getting this, total value in a variable lst of I. Now we got the variable lst of I, this total value for one student. Then we can simply use dot marks, so it will simply get this 97 in a string format. So what we have to do here is we have to convert this into integer. So this is the marks for the very first student. Now we will simply use 1 sum equal to 0, s equal to 0 to add all the marks. So s plus equal to, it will take all the marks summation, and after that at the end we'll simply print s divided by n to get the average. So let us copy this one and execute here, because you can see here till here it is working fine. We are able to get the total values, correct values. So this loop will simply calculate the total marks, and here we are printing the average. So let us directly execute here. Let me delete all, let us paste here, and this print statement were for our use. Now let us run this code. So you can see here it is also working fine. Let me submit this code. So congratulations, you can see here this code is working fine. We are done with all the hidden test cases. So this is the solution in which I have explained you each and everything line by line. Now they are saying one thing over here. Can you solve this challenge in 4 lines of code or less? So we can apply a list comprehension and a sum function to execute in a 4 lines, correct? We can simply use a list comprehension to get all this value and sum function to get the sum, and at the end we'll simply divide by n to get the average. So let me explain you that also. So We will write the same code here. Let us copy these 3 lines because these 3 lines are mandatory. We will paste here now. So till here everything is same. Now we have to write the logic for this all. We have to take the input from the user and calculate the average. So for that we have to write everything in a print statement. Print, and here we have to get the sum. We have to calculate the sum for all the student marks, and after that we have to divide by n. So this is, so till here I think it's okay. Means when we calculate this sum for all the student and we divide by n, we will get the average and we are printing that value. Now we have to write our logic here, how to get the sum for all the things and all. So here we will be using list comprehension. Now our first task is, the very first task is to take input from the user n times. So for I in range of n, correct? We will execute this n times and we will take input n times. So input, we have taken the input. After that we will simply use split. You can see here, take the input and we are splitting. So when we use this split, so it will return a list. So we are using an unpack operator to get only values. So what we will do, we will use unpack operator over here. We will use unpack operator to get the values. So when we get the values, we will simply assign this into a student, as our named tuple name is student. So we will simply assign this to student here, correct? We have taken the input, splitted the value, used the unpack operator just to get the value, and assigned into the student tuple, correct? Till here I think everything is okay. Now when we got this student, this will hold, it will look like we got the very first student detail. It will look like we got the very first student detail, like it will have the ID with few values, suppose 1, marks with value suppose 98, comma, name equal to xyz, comma, class equal to a. It will be looking like this one when we have used here unpack operator by getting all the input from the user and assigning into the student tuple. Okay, now from here we can easily use dot operator and marks to get this 98. So we will do the same thing over here. What we will do, we will use dot marks, so it will give the marks for that student. Means it will execute one time. For the very first one, we got the input, assigned all the values to the required field. After that we use the dot operator and get the marks. So when we got the marks, it will be a string format, so we will convert that into integer. Let us convert that into integer. Okay, so we converted that into integer. Now after that we are using here sum function, so that calculated value will be under this sum function. So it will be executed n times, all the value will be under the sum function, and at the end if you see here, after this whole calculation we are dividing by n, so it will give the average. So let us copy this one and check here. Let us delete this one, let us comment this one and paste our code here and check. So you can see here it is working fine. So here we have solved in 1 2 3 4 lines. Let us submit this code. So congratulations, we are done with all the hidden test cases. So you can see here this logic is also working, correct? And I have explained here each and everything in detail, so how things are working here. Let me mark line by line, like number wise. Suppose for the very first time this loop will execute. After that we are taking the input from the user, correct, taking the value from the user and assigning, correct, assigning this field into the student. After that we are calculating the marks. After that we are converting into integer type, correct, and assigning into a sum function. So once everything is calculated, at the end we are doing the average dividing by n. When all these things are done, when the sum is calculated, we are simply dividing by n, and then we are printing the value. Hope this is clear. So that's all for this problem. Hope you understood each and every explanation over here. So if you have learned something new, please do like our videos and subscribe to our channel Coding Cart, and stay tuned for the next videos. Thanks for watching.